Episode 1. Fate Graphite is a poor gatekeeper for the Velaric family, a noble house with 3 holy knight children, Hado, Memel, and Raphael. Fate is constantly bullied by the Velaric children due to his low status, and his only skill is gluttony, which leaves him permanently starving. One day, Fate is the only one home when bandits attack the Velaric house. He manages to kill one of the bandits, and to his shock, Gluttony consumes the bandit's soul, increasing Fate's strength and granting him the bandit's skills in appraisal and telepathy. Fate is terrified of his newfound power, but he realizes that it may be the only way to protect himself from the Velarics and other bullies. He buys a rusty black sword, and with telepathy, he realizes that it is the living magic sword Greed. Greed tells Fate that gluttony is a forbidden skill that goes against divine law. However, Greed also sees Fate's potential and agrees to help him train. Together, they slay a goblin pack, and Fate absorbs their strength and skills. On his way home, Fate uses telepathy to overhear an adventurer kidnapping a young girl to sell to corrupt holy knights for sexual slavery. Fate knows he is no match for the adventurer, but he is determined to save the girl. Roxy Hart, the only Velaric child who has ever shown Fate kindness, offers to hire him for her Hart family. However, Fate is too scared to leave the Velaric house. He knows that the Velarics will likely kill him or his family if he runs away. Fate decides to use his newfound power to protect the innocent and fight against injustice. He starts by training with Greed and learning how to use his new skills. He also begins to investigate the corrupt holy knights and the adventurer who is kidnapping young girls. One day, Fate overhears Raphael talking to a mysterious figure about immortality. Fate realizes that Raphael is up to something sinister, and he vows to stop him. Fate continues to train and grow stronger. He also begins to learn more about his gluttony skill. He discovers that gluttony can consume not only souls but also memories and knowledge. This gives Fate a unique advantage in his fight against the corrupt holy knights and the adventurer. Fate eventually confronts the adventurer and rescues the kidnapped girl. He also learns more about Raphael's plans for immortality. Fate realizes that he must stop Raphael before it's too late. Fate and Greed team up with Roxy Hart to stop Raphael and the corrupt holy knights. They face many challenges along the way, but ultimately they are victorious. Fate saves the day and becomes a hero. Episode 2. Fate Graphite defeats the adventurer and learns that it was Hado Velaric who was planning to buy the girl, Sahara. Fate returns Sahara to her orphanage and decides to accept the job working for Roxy Hart. Lord Hart dies in battle, so his title passes to Roxy, making her the new commander of the Holy Knights. However, many doubt that Roxy will be capable in the role, due to her lack of experience and her youth. Fate begins work as a servant for Roxy, and she quickly takes a more than casual interest in him. This earns the disapproval of Haru, the head maid. Fate's starvation returns, but it is now more intense than ever before. He also notices that his eyes turn red when he is hungry. Greed reveals that this is because gluttony has now consumed a soul, and it will crave souls constantly from now on. This means that Fate must kill regularly, or gluttony will starve him to death or send him on a mindless rampage. The red eyes are also a sign of a new skill called Hunger Boost. This skill makes Fate a more skilled hunter and killer, but it only lasts until gluttony is fed. Fate decides to use his new skills to hunt down goblins, hobgoblins, and other monsters. He also learns to steal skills from the creatures he kills. From the Goblin King, Fate steals the skill Health Regeneration, which allows him to heal his injuries almost instantly. In exchange for some of Fate's strength, Greed levels up and unlocks a new form, a bow that never misses. Fate anonymously donates the Goblin King's loot to the orphanage to help Sahara and her friends. Fate's new powers and abilities attract the attention of the other holy knights. Some of them are impressed, while others are suspicious. Hado Velaric is particularly interested in Fate, and he resolves to learn more about his new powers. Fate realizes that he can no longer keep his powers a secret from Roxy. He tells her about gluttony and hunger boost, and he explains that he needs to kill regularly to survive. Roxy is initially shocked, but she eventually accepts Fate's explanation. She promises to help him keep his powers a secret from the other holy knights. Roxy also sees Fate's potential as a holy knight. She begins to train him in the use of his sword and other weapons. She also teaches him about the history of the holy knights and the threats they face. Fate is a quick learner, and he soon becomes one of the most skilled holy knights under Roxy's command. He also uses his powers to protect the innocent and to fight against injustice. However, Fate knows that his powers are a curse as well as a blessing. He is constantly afraid of losing control of himself and becoming a monster. He also knows that he is in danger from the other holy knights, who may try to kill him if they learn his secret. Episode 3. Within the busy roads of the town, Roxy's focus is abruptly drawn to a disturbing scene. A holy knight, who is supposed to represent justice and safety, cruelly treating defenseless citizens. As a representation of honesty and kindness, Roxy finds it unacceptable to see such injustice. Fate develops a clever strategy in a split second to keep the scary knight from recognizing them. He and Roxy effectively deflect attention and disappear without being spotted by acting like lovers having a heated dispute. This scene demonstrates our characters' sharp minds and the depth of their bond. There is a spiritual connection that allows Roxy and Fate to speak silently. Through this telepathy, Roxy's true love for holding his hand is discerned by Fate. It gives their connection a further level of sensitivity and closeness because Roxy's feelings are quietly expressed without having to say anything. Roxy's mission is to learn more about a supposed Lick, a terrifying undead sorcerer who is thought to have brutally murdered 100 goblins as well as the Goblin King. Since the whole city is in a panic due to this horrific incident, Roxy's aim to uncover the truth is even more important. On the other hand, the approaching danger of knights prowling the woods worries Fate. This newfound caution could put their capacity to feed Gluttony a shadowy figure in danger. When Roxy's secret identity is finally revealed throughout the story, the response is terrible. She used to defend the town's residents, but these days they fear her. This extreme change in perspective towards someone who promised to protect them. At this point, Roxy's sense of obligation and sacrifice is much more apparent. In response to the previous remark regarding Fate's sword, Roxy goes to a blacksmith to make sure that greed, her weapon, is properly maintained. It becomes clear during this encounter that the Velaric siblings, individuals with their own goals and objectives, are going to track down the alleged Lick without first talking to Roxy. Their group's ongoing dispute causes impact and raises doubt on cooperation and confidence. Roxy and Fate's adventure takes an unexpected turn when they discover the Velaric siblings torturing a missing youngster. They leave the scene agitated when Roxy confronts them since she cannot stand by and watch cruelty take place. This series of incidents reveals Roxy's steadfast dedication to compassion and justice, despite the risks to her safety. In an inspiring gesture of kindness that brings back memories for Fate, the two help the missing youngster find his mother as the day draws to a close. He thinks back to a knight who, upon the death of his father, provided him with support and comfort. This flashback raises questions about Fate's background and perhaps provides insight into his deeper nature. When they get back, their mentor or superior Haru gives them a hard time. This interaction raises questions about their world's hierarchical structure as well as the ramifications of their choices. The warning could portend future decisions and trials. To help them face the challenges ahead and carry out their goals secretly, Fate buys a magical mask. This fascinating element gives him fresh possibilities and difficulties as it adds a mystical element. Concurrently, the Velaric siblings and other knights gather in secrecy to deliberate over a mysterious location known as Galia. This covert assembly suggests a secret plan or a crucial task that will probably influence our characters and the planet they live on in the future. Episode 4. Fate's friend Roxy extends an invitation to the Heart Vineyards, where he meets Lady Aisha, her mother, and Fate's direction changes. It becomes clear that Roxy and Fate are romantically attracted to one another. But as Fate quickly discovers, kobolds are a pesky and dangerous animal that attacks the vines regularly. A mysterious red-eyed Galian girl who is also hunting kobolds is encountered by him during one of these raids. Hinting at a deeper motive, she foreshadows Fate with a cryptic warning that he is still immature and needs to kill the kobolds more than she does. Roxy discovers that the Galian girl is from the same area where her father passed quite terribly. This relationship gives the plot an additional level of intrigue. Roxy, the leader of the kobold hunt, does not know that one of the animals has developed into a strong adversary known as the crowned kobold. In an attempt to keep Roxy safe, Fate chooses to chase this creature at night. Something surprising occurs after you kill the crowned kobold. Because of the crowned kobold's superior spirit, Gluttony, an enigmatic element within Fate, goes crazy. There is a supernatural element to the plot now that Fate has to battle to control it. As this is going on, Roxy finds out about the deceased kobolds and starts to doubt the Galian girl. Lady Aisha, who has a severe sickness and knows she will die soon, privately hands Fate the task of providing for Roxy after she dies. Though he feels not deserving of this responsibility, Fate agrees. As the narrative develops, Fate's life takes yet another unexpected turn. Gluttony is no longer satisfied with his regular goblin hunting, and as a result, one of his eyes permanently turns red, necessitating the use of an eye patch. As Hado is sent to track down Corpse Lick, probably in search of justice or retribution. The plot becomes more complex. Fate muses over his next move, feeling helpless against the depravity of his enemies. In the end, he decided to confront Hado to exact revenge on him. Roxy is selected for the same assignment in Galia that resulted in her father's demise in the interim. Believing it to be a plot against her life, Fate implores her to turn down this perilous quest. But Roxy decides to take on the assignment, endangering her security and drawing the plot into a new dimension of tension. Fate's companions Raphael and Memel travel to Tenburn to investigate immortality in the middle of all these difficulties and mysteries, adding a mysterious and hopeful aspect to the story as a whole. A thrilling and captivating anime, the story has deep emotional connections, mystical themes, and fascinating characters. Episode 5, Fate, who has been hiding his identity, takes center stage when he reveals himself to Hado. These two get into a heated argument that turns into a fight. In this battle, Fate not only defeats Hado but also destroys his powerful holy sword, displaying his great might and brutality. Fate's savagery is at its height when he severely beats Hado, and then cuts off his arms and legs, leaving Hado with a horrifying and terrible ending. This crucial moment highlights both the mystery surrounding Fate and the truth about his might. But then the story takes a surprising turn when Hado's skill, the holy sword technique, is taken by Fate. This is no ordinary skill. By default, the law elevates the possessor to the rank of Holy Knight. Getting this incredible power creates much doubt about the intentions of Fate and what comes next. Following this metamorphosis is the mysterious character Greed, who gains experience points and transforms into a bladed form. This progression relates to his dynamic and powerful skills in this fascinating universe. He makes the possible uses of this power as the advent of this new form gives Greed's identity a hint of unpredictability. Additionally, one of the most important, Roxy, becomes prominent at this point. She sets out on a dangerous journey to defeat the divine dragon, which, if she survives, should take a hard 3 years to complete. Volunteers Miria and Morgan are accompanying Roxy in this effort, so she is not working alone. Rain, Morgan's daughter, is on a mission of her own, researching the victims of the enigmatic and evil corpse lick. After doing some study, she discovers a terrifying fact. The weapon being used in these attacks is one of the dreaded weapons of mortal sin. The mystery and peril that lie here are strengthened by this discovery. At a shipping port, Fate takes an essential break while the gang travels towards Galia. There, he runs across Set, who is a former himself who used to torture him as a youngster. The Set is in urgent need of warriors to defend their community against dangerous beasts. Because the villagers had previously expelled Fate following the passing of his father, Dean, the situation is difficult. Fate is afraid to help at first because of the old anger. However, he changes his mind when he learns that Gluttony, a mystery force or entity, needs to be fed shortly. The village chief, Set's father, acknowledges Fate and determines that Set could be a valuable sacrifice to placate the monsters. Set, who has grown up since they were kids, strongly opposes this proposal even though it is savage. Given that the monsters recently took the life of Set's wife, he invites Fate into his home. But then the story takes an even more surprising turn. Fate abruptly collapses when he is sleeping in Set's house. It becomes clear that the chief had tricked Set's young daughter into giving Fate a drugged candy. With this abrupt turn of events, the plot becomes more risky as Fate finds himself in an unsafe circumstance.